There's a strange truth most men never understand. Women often chase the men who don't even value them. They cry over indifference, obsess over distance, and stay loyal to men who barely give them attention. Meanwhile, the men who truly care, the ones who offer love, time, and devotion, are often ignored or taken for granted. At first, it seems unfair, almost cruel. But there's a deeper psychological truth behind it. It's not that women want pain, it's that they crave emotional gravity. And nothing pulls harder than uncertainty. You see, in human psychology, what's easily obtained rarely feels valuable. The moment something or someone feels too available, the emotional tension disappears. Attraction fades, not because love dies, but because the mystery does. The man who doesn't constantly validate her, who doesn't seek her approval, who can walk away at any moment, he becomes a puzzle she can't stop thinking about. That's not arrogance, that's polarity. Women feel drawn to strength that doesn't bend for validation. Because deep down, every woman wants a man whose value doesn't depend on her reaction. When a man overgives, over-explains, or over-pursues, he flips the natural balance of attraction. Instead of being the calm center of energy, he becomes the one orbiting around her emotions. And here's the brutal truth. Nobody respects what they control. A woman can like a man who worships her, but she won't desire him. Because desire is born in uncertainty, not comfort. The man who doesn't rush to prove himself creates emotional contrast. He forces her to feel. Every unanswered text, every delayed response, every moment of silence becomes amplified in her mind. She starts imagining, questioning, wondering. And in that tension, attraction grows. But there's a line. And the Stoic man understands it perfectly. It's not about playing games or pretending not to care. It's about living in such alignment with your purpose that her validation becomes optional. A man who values himself doesn't need to devalue others to feel powerful. He just doesn't chase what doesn't reciprocate. His calm detachment isn't a tactic, it's a reflection of inner peace. And that peace, that composure, is what makes him so rare. So when you see women chasing men who don't value them, don't mistake it for stupidity. It's instinct. They're responding to strength, mystery, and emotional control, even when they don't realize it. The tragedy is that most men try to win women by giving more, when what actually wins respect is giving less, but with meaning. The man who knows his worth never needs to prove it. His silence speaks louder than affection forced out of fear. And the paradox of attraction remains the same. When you stop trying to be everything to her, you become the one she can't stop thinking about. Before we start the video, I want to remind you that my effective online course on mastering the dating game is available now. If you've been learning from my YouTube videos, you're only scratching the surface. This course takes things to an entirely new level, teaching you everything you need to know about the dating game, from approaching a woman to building real attraction. And you won't find this information in any video on my channel. It's available in both English and Spanish language, so you can learn in the language you feel most comfortable with. It's easy to access with a secure payment option. Visit thestoiccouple.podia.com or click the link in the description to enroll now and improve your dating life. Let's dive in. Number 1. Why women crave the emotionally unavailable man. Most men believe that the key to attraction is effort, more messages, more attention, more proof of care. They think if they just show her how much she means to them, she'll finally reciprocate. But in reality, that kind of overexposure often backfires, because attraction isn't born in comfort, it's born in tension. And the emotionally unavailable man, the one who gives less, who withholds just enough, creates exactly that tension. It's not about cruelty, it's about contrast. He represents mystery in a world full of predictability. You see, when a man doesn't reveal everything, when he stays calm in chaos, and when his emotions remain measured, he triggers something ancient in a woman's psychology. Curiosity. That curiosity is the seed of attraction. She starts wondering why she can't read him, why he doesn't chase her like the others, why her charm doesn't seem to move him. And that wondering becomes emotional investment. Ironically, the man who doesn't try to be understood becomes unforgettable, not because he's distant, but because he's centered. His silence isn't rejection, it's restraint. And restraint in a man is rare, magnetic, and deeply attractive. Women are emotional by nature. They live through feeling, through connection, through response. So when they meet a man who doesn't instantly react, who doesn't mirror their emotional swings, it unsettles them. It challenges them. Most women aren't used to that. They're used to being adored easily, admired quickly, and forgiven endlessly. But the emotionally unavailable man, or more accurately, the emotionally disciplined man, changes that rhythm. He creates emotional scarcity. His presence becomes something she must earn, not something freely given. And in human psychology, what must be earned always feels more valuable. This doesn't mean he's cold or manipulative. It means his emotions are expensive. He doesn't invest them until he's sure they'll yield respect. His calmness doesn't come from arrogance, but from focus. He's so anchored in his purpose that her validation can't shake him. And that stability, that quiet authority, makes her feel both intrigued and safe. A paradox she can't resist. He's not trying to control her emotions. He's simply not enslaved by his own. Most men try to win women through emotional exposure. But exposure without scarcity is vulnerability without value. The Stoic man knows better. He doesn't hide emotion, but he doesn't hand it out like currency either. He gives connection meaning by limiting access to it. Because what's rare is respected, and what's respected is desired. So when women chase emotionally unavailable men, it's not because they love pain. It's because they crave polarity. They crave the pull of mystery, the thrill of pursuit, and the challenge of earning attention that isn't cheaply given. The man who can stay calm in her chaos doesn't just attract her. He anchors her. And in that calmness, she finds both confusion and desire. Because deep down, she knows one truth. A man who doesn't need her validation becomes the one whose attention feels priceless. Number 2. Why women confuse uncertainty with passion. In psychology, uncertainty is one of the most powerful emotional triggers in existence. It activates the same chemical pathways in the brain that drive addiction. That's why gambling, social media, and unpredictable relationships feel so intoxicating. It's not the reward that hooks us, it's the possibility of it. And that's the same reason women often confuse emotional instability with passion. When a man's attention is unpredictable, when he gives, then withdraws, when he listens, then disappears, it creates an emotional roller coaster that her brain interprets as intensity. It's not love, it's chemistry. But chemistry feels like love, especially to someone who craves emotional stimulation. Most women don't consciously seek pain, they seek feeling, and the emotionally unpredictable man makes her feel. Every time he goes silent, her mind starts searching for meaning. Every unanswered message becomes a riddle. Every delay feels like rejection. Every return feels like relief. That emotional swing, from anxiety to pleasure, becomes addictive. She starts associating his inconsistency with excitement, his detachment with dominance, and his distance with depth. The very behavior that should push her away ends up pulling her in, because her emotions can't differentiate between passion and tension. And that's why she stays. Not because she's blind, but because she's addicted. You see, women who chase men that don't value them aren't just following emotion. They're chasing certainty through chaos. They keep hoping that one day, the man who's cold today will be warm tomorrow. That the same silence that hurts her will soon reward her with connection. That's what keeps her hooked. It's the intermittent reinforcement of attention. One small moment of affection after long stretches of emotional distance. It's like a drug. The more she invests, the more she needs to believe it's worth it. She starts to interpret his rare kindness as proof of depth, when in reality, it's just scarcity playing tricks on her emotions. The Stoic man understands this dynamic, but he never abuses it. He doesn't play with emotions, he masters his own. Because true masculinity doesn't rely on manipulation, it relies on control. A real man knows that if you can make her feel safe and uncertain at the same time, you'll never be forgotten. But the key is intention. He creates mystery through depth, not distance, through purpose, not games. His calmness isn't a tactic, it's an aura. It comes from emotional maturity, not indifference. And that's what separates him from the toxic man she confuses with passion. In the end, women don't fall for pain. They fall for presence that feels rare. They mistake uncertainty for intensity because most men have no balance. But the Stoic man provides both. He gives emotion with discipline, attention with boundaries, warmth without weakness. That combination is what every woman truly craves, even if she doesn't know how to name it. Because in a world full of chaos, a man who can make her feel deeply without losing himself becomes the rarest kind of addiction there is. Number 3. Why good men often lose to indifferent ones. It's one of the hardest truths for good men to face. Being kind, loyal, and available doesn't always make you desirable. In fact, it can make you invisible. Because attraction isn't built on goodness alone, it's built on contrast. A woman can recognize your kindness, appreciate your consistency, and still crave the mystery of the man who doesn't offer any of it. Not because she's broken, but because the human mind values what it can't fully grasp. The man who's indifferent creates emotional tension. He keeps her imagination alive. The man who's always available creates emotional certainty, and certainty kills curiosity. In psychology, this is known as the contrast effect, the way our brains heighten attraction to what feels unpredictable compared to what feels safe. When everything is known, the emotional landscape becomes flat. But when something feels out of reach, the emotions deepen. The indifferent man provides that contrast. He gives her just enough attention to stay relevant, but not enough to be predictable. His inconsistency becomes the emotional terrain she can't stop exploring. She wonders what he's thinking, what he's feeling, whether he even cares. And that wondering keeps her emotionally invested. Meanwhile, the good man, in his sincerity, removes all the mystery. He gives answers before she even asks questions. He provides comfort before she even earns it. And while that feels noble, it eliminates the one thing attraction needs to thrive: anticipation. You see, when a woman knows exactly how you'll react, exactly how you feel, and exactly where she stands, she stops wondering. And when the wondering ends, so does the emotional spark. It's not about manipulation. It's about emotional pacing. A high-value man gives love with patience, not desperation. He doesn't flood her with reassurance. He allows curiosity to breathe. He knows that every relationship needs space for imagination, that desire grows in the gap between presence and absence. The good man often mistakes emotional availability for emotional leadership. He thinks being endlessly open will prove his worth, when in reality, it dissolves polarity. Women don't fall for men who need them. They fall for men who choose them. There's a difference. Choice implies power. Need implies loss of it. And women are drawn to power, not domination, but composure. The quiet authority of a man who could give everything but chooses to give intentionally. The Stoic man understands this. He never hides his care, but he never throws it away either. His affection feels earned because it is. His love doesn't come as a flood. It comes as a current, steady, measured, and real. And that's what creates balance. Because the truth is, good men don't lose because they're too kind. They lose because they give their kindness where it's not respected. Once they learn to combine heart with discipline, they stop losing to indifference. Because no woman can resist the man who gives emotion with value and attention with boundaries. That's not indifference. That's power wrapped in restraint. Number 4. Why scarcity feels like strength. Scarcity is one of the most misunderstood forces in human psychology. We crave what's rare, not necessarily because it's better, but because it's harder to get. When something feels limited, our brains assign it more importance, more weight, more meaning. And this simple truth applies directly to attraction. The man who doesn't make himself constantly available, who can disappear into purpose, who can withhold his attention without hostility, automatically feels more valuable. Not because he's playing games, but because his energy feels expensive. Scarcity creates the illusion of superiority, but when it's authentic, when it comes from discipline rather than manipulation, it's not an illusion at all. It's power. Most men misunderstand this principle. They think being scarce means ignoring her, being cold, or acting like they don't care. But real scarcity isn't about pretending. It's about priorities. It's about knowing your time, energy, and emotion are finite resources, and refusing to give them away cheaply. A high-value man's attention is measured because it's built on intention. He doesn't reply instantly because he's busy living, building, creating. His world doesn't revolve around her responses. It revolves around his purpose. That independence is magnetic. It signals strength. Because nothing says, "I have value," louder than a man who isn't desperate to prove it. Scarcity changes perception. When a man pulls back, a woman's mind begins to fill in the blanks. She wonders what he's doing, why he's not responding, whether she said something wrong. That uncertainty builds emotional weight. It's not manipulation, it's biology. The female brain, wired for connection and emotional awareness, reacts strongly to shifts in attention. When a man's energy is consistent yet limited, it stimulates curiosity rather than complacency. And curiosity is the first step toward desire. The Stoic man understands this balance perfectly. He doesn't make himself scarce out of ego. He does it out of alignment. He knows that attention without restraint becomes noise, and that the power of his presence lies in its selectivity. When he gives his focus, it feels intentional. When he speaks, it carries weight. When he touches, it means something. Because he's not always available, his moments of presence feel sacred. That's what creates value, not mystery for mystery's sake, but meaning created through scarcity. And here's the deeper truth. Scarcity is not about absence, it's about self-control. The world is full of men who give everything for the slightest affection, but the man who can withhold, who can wait, who can let her come to him, that man owns the frame. His silence becomes language, his restraint becomes dominance, and his peace becomes the most attractive energy she's ever felt. Because women don't want a man who's always around. They want a man who's worth waiting for. In the end, scarcity isn't a trick. It's a reflection of value. The less you chase, the more you attract. The less you explain, the more you're respected. And the less you give without purpose, the more powerful your presence becomes. That's why true masculinity doesn't shout its worth. It moves quietly, confidently, and selectively. Because what's rare isn't just noticed, it's remembered. Number 5. Why women test the men they admire. When a woman respects you, she'll test you, not to humiliate you, but to understand you. It's instinctive. A woman's mind is emotional, but it's also deeply perceptive. She doesn't admire words. She observes reactions. She watches how you handle frustration, whether your calm is real or fragile, whether your confidence is grounded or just performative. Her tests aren't about power. They're about certainty. Because to truly feel safe, she needs to know that your strength isn't conditional. That when pressure builds, you remain composed. That when her emotions rise, yours don't crumble. She's not trying to destroy your peace. She's trying to see if she can trust it. Most men fail these tests not because they're weak, but because they take them personally. When a woman becomes distant, throws attitude, or questions his intentions, he panics. He explains, argues, defends, all while thinking he's fixing the problem. But he's not. He's proving her fears. Every defensive word tells her that his emotions depend on hers. Every argument confirms that his balance was an act. The more he reacts, the more she subconsciously loses faith in his leadership. Because if he can't control himself, how can he be trusted to lead both of them through emotional storms? A high-value man doesn't fear tests. He expects them. He understands that emotion is how women communicate truth. When she tests his patience, he doesn't respond with anger. He responds with steadiness. When she withdraws, he doesn't chase. He observes. When she throws emotional energy, he doesn't absorb it. He redirects it through calmness. His composure becomes her reassurance. His restraint becomes her stability. And ironically, every test she throws becomes an opportunity for him to earn deeper respect. Not through dominance, but through consistency. The Stoic man never loses his center trying to prove he's in control. He knows that control isn't something you show, it's something you embody. It's in the way you pause before you speak, the way you stand when others fold, the way your energy remains the same, whether she's sweet or distant. This kind of steadiness doesn't just attract women, it anchors them. Because most people are ruled by impulse, emotion, and ego. The man who isn't becomes a pillar in their chaos. And here's the truth, most men never learn. When a woman tests you, it's not rejection, it's curiosity. She wants to see if you're who you claim to be. If your confidence is real, if your peace can't be shaken. And the moment you respond with calm certainty, something changes in her. Her tone softens, her guard lowers, her respect grows. Because in that moment, she doesn't just see a man. She feels a presence. The Stoic man doesn't fear her tests because he knows they're not the problem. They're the process. They're how she falls in love, not with your charm, but with your consistency. Because in a world full of men who react, the man who remains still becomes unforgettable. Number 6, why emotionally disciplined men always win in the end. In every room, in every relationship, in every silent moment of conflict, one truth always emerges. The one who controls emotion controls the outcome. It's not about domination. It's about composure. Emotional discipline is the quiet language of power. It's the reason some men can walk away without chaos, speak with calm even in anger, and make decisions that others can't. It's the reason high-value men always win, not because they're perfect, but because they stay centered when everyone else loses balance. While most people are slaves to impulse, the Stoic man remains loyal to principle. That's what makes him so rare, and that rarity is what women, and the world, can't ignore. Emotional discipline doesn't mean numbness. It's not suppressing feelings, it's mastering them. The disciplined man still feels deeply. He just doesn't let feelings dictate his direction. He knows that emotions are like weather, temporary, unpredictable, but powerless against a man who knows his coordinates. When anger comes, he observes it. When jealousy strikes, he pauses. When rejection stings, he doesn't chase closure. He creates it within himself. That level of self-possession doesn't come from arrogance. It comes from awareness. He understands that every reaction he controls earns him leverage, and every reaction he loses costs him peace. Women may be drawn to looks, confidence, or charisma. But what keeps their respect is emotional control. Because emotional discipline communicates leadership. It tells her, "I'm not here to compete with your emotions. I'm here to guide both of us through them." That's what makes the Stoic man stand out. He can handle conflict without chaos. He can hear disrespect without losing dignity. He can love passionately without losing perspective. His calm presence becomes magnetic, not because it's cold, but because it's grounded. He doesn't just make her feel something, he makes her feel safe. Most men burn out chasing temporary validation. They let emotion lead, then wonder why they end up drained, disrespected, or forgotten. But the emotionally disciplined man plays the long game. His strength builds over time. Every silence strengthens his patience. Every disappointment sharpens his focus. Every setback reminds him that control is his currency. He knows that while others react in minutes, he's building something that lasts decades: respect, reputation, legacy. That's the essence of masculine power. Steadiness. Because in a world of noise, the man who stays still becomes the loudest presence in the room. And when it comes to love, emotional discipline changes everything. The man who can desire without attachment, love without losing himself, and walk away without hatred becomes untouchable. Women respect him. Men emulate him. The world moves around him, but never through him. Because true power doesn't come from what you can control. It comes from what doesn't control you. The Stoic man wins not because he's harder, but because he's wiser. He's learned that emotions are tools, not traps. And once you learn to master your emotions instead of obeying them, you no longer chase peace. You become it. Number 7. Why letting go makes you irresistible. Every man who has ever loved deeply knows this truth. Letting go is not weakness. It's agony disguised as strength. Detachment isn't the absence of emotion, it's the mastery of it. It's standing in front of everything you wanted, everything you once believed you needed, and saying, "I choose peace over pursuit." The world teaches men to fight for what they love, to prove, to hold on. But real power begins when you stop fighting for what's already left you, because sometimes the most masculine act a man can commit is to release what he cannot control and trust that silence will teach what words never could. Detachment hurts because it demands truth. It forces you to see things as they are, not as you wish they'd be. You realize she didn't leave because you weren't enough. She left because your peace made her confront her own chaos. You realize you weren't ignored because you were invisible, but because your value was too consistent to be exciting to someone addicted to instability. And in that realization, the pain starts to transform. You stop chasing what doesn't match your energy. You stop confusing effort with connection. You stop mistaking emotional intensity for compatibility. You finally understand that walking away isn't losing her. It's finding yourself again. The Stoic man doesn't detach out of bitterness. He detaches out of understanding. He knows that attachment built on fear will always end in pain. He doesn't beg for closure because he realizes closure is an internal decision, not an external gift. He doesn't block, argue, or seek revenge. His silence is his boundary, and his absence is his statement. Every time he pulls back from what disrespects him, he reclaims a part of himself that he once gave away too freely. That's why detachment feels like death at first, because it is. It's the death of your old self, the version of you that needed validation to feel worthy. But from that death comes rebirth. A man who's no longer controlled by rejection, but refined by it. And here's the paradox. The moment you let go, you become magnetic. The same woman who once took you for granted begins to feel your absence like a shadow she can't escape. Because silence has a frequency that lingers. Your calm starts echoing in her mind, reminding her of the steadiness she didn't appreciate. She starts wondering if she misjudged you, if she underestimated what she lost. That's the price of ignoring a man who learns to detach. His absence starts to feel heavier than his presence ever did. The Stoic man doesn't let go to punish, he lets go to protect. His detachment is not about ego, it's about evolution. He's no longer a man chasing love. He's a man embodying peace. And peace, once earned, becomes irresistible. Because when you no longer need validation, you no longer chase it. And that's when it starts chasing you. Detachment isn't about forgetting her. It's about remembering yourself. It's about realizing that the only thing more powerful than love is self-respect. In the end, everything a man seeks, love, respect, admiration, freedom, all comes down to one word: peace. The kind of peace that can't be shaken by silence, broken by rejection, or bought by validation. It's not the absence of pain, it's the mastery of it. Peace is the final form of power. The world will tell you that strength is in dominance, in control, in how loud you can be. But the Stoic man knows the truth. Power isn't noise, it's restraint. Power isn't in proving you're right. It's in staying grounded when everything around you tries to pull you off balance. The man who finds peace in himself becomes the rarest man alive, because nothing outside him can dictate who he is anymore. Peace is not passive. It's active discipline. It's waking up each day and choosing calm over chaos, purpose over distraction, solitude over desperation. It's learning to walk away from conversations that demand your rage, from people who drain your energy, from situations that feed your ego but starve your spirit. A man who chooses peace doesn't lose emotion. He refines it. He no longer reacts. He responds. He no longer begs. He observes. His silence isn't emptiness, it's presence sharpened into focus. And that's why peace becomes the ultimate advantage in relationships. When a man is at peace, he no longer fears losing anyone. He no longer needs to prove, chase, or perform. He doesn't get jealous when she pulls away, and he doesn't panic when she tests him. He stays still, not because he's careless, but because he's centered. His calm creates contrast in her world of constant motion. He becomes the gravity she returns to, the standard by which she measures every man who comes after him. Because peace isn't just attractive, it's addictive. It's the emotional stability every woman craves, but few ever find. The Stoic man's peace is his weapon. It's how he wins arguments without words, ends games without effort, and commands respect without force. He doesn't compete for validation. His energy naturally filters out what doesn't belong. And in that silence, people reveal who they truly are. The ones meant to stay will meet his calm with loyalty. The ones who leave only make room for better alignment. Peace simplifies everything. It strips away illusion and exposes truth. And once a man learns to live in truth, he becomes untouchable. In the end, peace is not what you find after the war. It's what makes you walk away from it. It's not something you chase. It's something you build, moment by moment, choice by choice. It's what turns heartbreak into wisdom, rejection into direction, and silence into strength. That's the Stoic truth. The highest form of power isn't control over others. It's mastery over yourself. Because when you learn to protect your peace, the world no longer decides your value. You do. And that is when a man stops being remembered for what he said and starts being remembered for how he stayed calm when everyone else broke. If you're ready to take your dating life to the next level, my full online course is waiting for you. It's packed with powerful strategies you won't find on YouTube, and it's available in English and Spanish. Click the link in the description and start mastering the game today. See you in the next video.